So you've already downloaded your IDE, either Visual Studio or Atom, and you've already created your basic structure folder. So building a basic website from scratch and the CSS, JavaScript, and images folder. If you want to add documents, you can do that as well. So now let's go ahead and open up Visual Studio or your IDE. If you use, for example, Atom, you can use that as well. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on File, Open Folder, and make sure that I have the Building a Basic Website from Scratch selected. This will help make sure that I have all my folder structure and files on the left-hand side. There's a welcome message. You can read information in there if you want to make changes to it. What I am going to do is I'm going to create a new file. And in there, we're going to call it template.html. Let's see. Let's try that again. Here we go. Template.html. By adding this extension called .html, it tells the browser that we open it with that this is an HTML file. Guess what? When we create a CSS file, it's going to be .css. When it's a JavaScript file, it'll be a .js, correct? So that's what we're going to do. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a template. And the reason why we're creating this template is because we're not using any backend code that auto-generates that for us. So we need to create it so that we can use it over and over again. We can duplicate this page over and over again as we're creating all of our other pages. So let's go ahead and create this template.html. And now we're in our template.html. You'll see that we see the file name up top, that we see what line we're in, which is line 1. If you want to close this, you're able to close this file explorer right there as well. I'm gonna close it just for a minute, just so that we have a little more real estate on the page. And we're going to start building our first website, or our first page, sorry. So the first thing that I want to show you guys before we go into actually building is a little bit of understanding of HTML and how it looks and how it behaves, and kind of some information on how to start coding. So the first thing that I want to show you is this, which are greater than and less than signs. This is what we use to create what we call HTML tags. Inside of those tags, we have specific commands. Like, for example, we can have HTML. This is what I was talking about, auto-completion or IntelliSense or information that you can see for your HTML or any document that you're opening. That's what an IDE provides for you. So this we open up with a less than sign, we write in our tag, and then we close it with a greater than sign. So everything inside of our HTML, you'll see that is our tag is enclosed between the less than sign and greater than sign. Everything inside of it is considered a tag. Now, a tag needs to be open, but it also needs to be closed. The way that you do that in HTML is by using the same syntax. So if you notice, we have an HTML tag on top here, and we do the same exact thing, except that now we have a less than sign, and then we have a forward slash. That forward slash shows you that this tag up top, HTML, is being closed by this tag down here called HTML with a forward slash in the front. So we're opening an HTML tag and we're closing an HTML tag. There are other properties as we start working on our HTML, that there might be some self-closing tags. So you might see something like this: input forward slash and then the closing of the greater than sign. This is what it's called a self-closing tag. In HTML5, you might see it as input and then that's it. it doesn't need a self-closing tag. You could also see that as I did that with Visual Studio, it did not offer a closing tag just like it did with the HTML earlier on. So again, just be aware that there are some things that are self-closing, some other ones that you need to close by yourself. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, when do I use which? And the only way that I can provide an answer for that is by experience. The more that you code, the more that you do, the more experience you have, and then you'll know this is a self-closing tag, this is not a self-closing tag. Everything that we do in front-end development and even in back-end development, a lot of it as time progresses becomes second nature or becomes muscle memory. We know when to close it and we know when not to close it, when we need to add a closing tag and when we don't need to add a closing tag. So again, I just wanted to give this basic overview of what an opening tag and closing tag will look like. So now let's go ahead and select all of it, and I'm going to erase it. Let's go ahead and start building the basic syntax of an HTML page. So an HTML page, in order to create an HTML page, we need to provide it something called doc type, which lets the browser know this is also an HTML page. Not only the extension, but also this code on the top of the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the less than sign, then the dollar sign, or the exclamation point, I'm sorry, and then you can see that automatically Visual Studio tells me you're looking for doc type. And yes, what we're going to do, let me go ahead and erase this, is we're going to create the less than sign, exclamation point, doc type, and then we're going to type HTML. This lets the browser know this is an HTML file, the document type. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is we also need to start creating our structure for the document itself. Not where things are going to be held, but the structure of the document so that the browser knows how to render it. The first thing that we need to do is create an HTML tag that we created earlier on. And we're going to open it and we're going to close it. Then the next thing, inside of the HTML tag, we need to have two very particular tags. One is going to be head, and the other one is going to be the body. Now, what this does is the head tag here, this head block of content, what this is going to hold information that you may not necessarily see on your page. So for example, if you go to a website, or maybe in the website that you're looking this at, if you look at the tab on your browser, you'll see some specific name of this specific tab. This is determined on the head of the document. On the head of the document, you would also have other information like who created the document, the page name. You'll have maybe the page description. You'll have other information that lets also the browser know that you want this to be mobile responsive. We'll look at this in the next video. I just wanted to introduce this section here. The next one is the body tag. In the body tag, you will actually have the content of your website. Here we're going to break down even more content areas, where we're going to have the header area, the main content area, the footer area, just to help organize where content will be and have some sort of semantically correct HTML. In other words, we want to make sure that it makes sense as the browser reads it, but better yet, it makes sense for other developers, that when they come along and start working on maybe your code, they'll know exactly where things are located and it makes sense to them as they're looking at the code. So in the next video, we're going to talk about the head tags and all the things that we're able to add in that section. So see you then.